It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
That's all we need, Joel. That's all we need, man. That is it. That's the price of admission to get on the show. As simple as that.
There we go.
I get it. It's weird, man. Construction podcast, and we get all these people in the industry asking them to sing to open up. That's how we started. I joke we don't have a budget for any theme song or stuff like that. We have no tunes, nothing at all. So welcome, Joe.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Amazing to have you. Honestly, it's, I've heard a lot of positive things from a few people in the industry. Just off mic, we were talking about Jim Carrick, and you're having discussions with him. And but it's always nice to have a show about design and architect and building and what's going on. So that's what we're going to do here. Yeah, which I'm looking forward to it. So let me just share the information here. I got Joel Tanner here from SMPL. Is it officially Design Studio or?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, and then you can reach them on IG under SMPL Design Studio. Also, their website is www.smpldesignstudio.com. You can reach them at contact at smpldesignstudio.com as well. And then their phone number is 905-529-7675. And your official title is Creative Director and Passionate CEO.
That is correct.
So it actually becomes what, a PCEO?
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
No, I mean, I love the passionate part, which is great, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we brought that into play. We were kind of rejigging titles. It was probably like 5-6 years ago. Okay. And we actually hired, so Lindsay, my director of operations. So that's her new title as of 5 years ago. But we worked with a architectural training company to better our systems and to better our processes internally, accountability focus, accounting focus. And part of that exercise was kind of, trying to rebrand the image a little bit. And that was, we kind of brought that into the mix was at that time. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm insanely passionate about everything I do. And that's kind of where it started. And I don't want to get rid of it.
Great. Was it weird to have someone come in and kind of tell you guys you're not presenting yourself correctly? You're missing opportunities, I guess?
Yeah, it was a really good process, and the timing could not have been any more perfect. Okay. And so I was listening to this podcast, Business of Architecture. So it was basically back through 2018, 2019. All right. And then finally just kind of said, you know what, like, let's dive in, let's have a call with Enoch and let's figure out what he's all about. What is he up to? What's his business model? Cause he has this podcast, but above and beyond that, he has a business model. Okay. And so he came in, he really quickly, like in a 30-minute call, spewed out what they do. And then I remember very distinctly at the end of the call, he's like, okay, so it's $10,000 American, because they're US based business. And like, so like, you ready to rock or what? And Lindsay and I are like,
stuff that think
I don't know. Yeah. So anyways, we dove in. It actually didn't take us that long to make that decision. But yeah, so thankful. So this was fall 2019. We hired him, dove in probably like October. And it was a 6-month process and each week you had homework, and each week you had a call with different architectural firms and engineering firms that were a part of the same program. And so you had to come to the meeting prepared. You had to be done your homework. You're going to get a new set of homework. They're going to kind of, walk through different variables. Okay. And yeah, and thank God we did, because it was like October, November, December, January, February. What happens in March? COVID hits. And so in 24 hours, we basically spun the business model, sent everybody home with their computers. We, unfortunately, that was the first time in the company's history, we had to lay 2 people off. That was a really hard moment it was probably one of the hardest moments in 14 years of running a company. And honestly, trying to think if we've done that since we've maybe won since then, whereas this relationship wasn't working. Yeah. So it's not something we have a lot of experience with. Our team members, seem to be quite passionate and want to stay on board. So we've got team members that have Lindsay's been with us for 7 years. Mackenzie has been with us for 6 years. Hayden's been with us for 5 years. There's a bunch of people that have been with us for 4 or 5 years. And so yeah, we're eternally grateful for making that decision to jump into that full steam.
You guys probably would have been, I mean, we're getting way ahead because I got a lot of things that I want to discuss, but let me do a quick shout out to, I'm wearing Burke's Bricks t-shirt. I always wear somebody else's t-shirt on the show.
Awesome.
So I give them a quick shout out when I'm wearing them. And, but This podcast is brought to you by Redmond Distributing, a proud family-owned and operated HVAC supplier, serving Ontario for the past 22 years. With warehouses conveniently located in both Mississauga and Ottawa, they specialize in providing premium HVAC and hearth equipment across the region. Redmond Distributing is committed to supporting HVAC businesses with their dedicated customer service, reliable warranties, free training sessions in their operational facility, inventory management, and free delivery to most locations in Southern Ontario. For a partnership with true HVAC equipment specialists, choose Redmond Distributing. Explore more at www.redmonddistributing.com. Introducing the new Air-Cooled 26 RCA, the quietest, most powerful, and most durable generator with 109 amps max power on liquid propane. Equipped with the first-to-market low-oil shutoff switch, it's the quietest 26 kilowatt on the market with a 56 dB at exercise. The 89% larger ceramic fiberglass insulated muffler and acoustic foam insulated inlet duct deliver the best sound quality on the market at exercise. Its larger muffler reduces back pressure by 62%, eliminating restrictions in exhaust to optimize pressures for peak performance. Its CH1006 engine with 20% higher compression ratio and variable ignition timing optimized by fuel delivers the most power in its class. It's also equipped with advanced engine tuning with an air cleaner assembly relocated directly over the carburetor, which optimizes airflow to deliver enhanced performance. When it comes to reliability, nothing beats a Kohler home generator. Get the facts and find your generator at Effect Electric Limited on IG. Choose Dahl for your plumbing needs and discover the peace of mind that comes with their unwavering reliability and exceptional service. Experience the Dahl difference and join the growing community of contractors who trust in their expertise and rely on their products. Check out Dahl at www.dahlvalve.com and on social at dahlvalve. Hey architects and builders, do you want to stand out from the competition? Fraser Wood Siding has your back. Fraser Wood Siding is a leader in pre-finished wood siding. They manufacture beautiful pre-finished wood siding using only the highest quality PEFC certified Canadian softwood. Fraser Wood Siding is available in 17 profiles and unlimited colors. Fraser Wood Siding is available in 17 profiles and unlimited colors. Supplied by the global leader in paints, Sherwin-Williams. Whether your design taste is classic, contemporary, conservative, or bold, they've got you covered. They'll gladly match the color of any paint manufacturer and send a sample on an actual piece of Fraser Wood Siding in just a few days. Visit their website at www.fraserwoodsiding.com and reach out about your upcoming projects to benefit from their industry-leading lead times. Fraser Wood Siding, get inspired. Are you looking for a sustainable and durable real wood solution to elevate your next project? Let me introduce you to the gold standard. Thermery, the world's largest and most trusted manufacturer of thermally modified wood and sauna materials. Their wood is like the superhero version of regular wood, stronger, more stable, and ready to take on whatever Mother Nature throws its way. With a wide range of thermally modified wood products from decking and cladding to sauna and statement walls, when you choose Thermery, you're not just investing in quality, you're investing in the health of our planet too. Join countless architects, designers, builders, and homeowners who have trusted Thermery to bring their vision to life. The best way to fully experience the Thermery difference is to hold the real thing in your hands, so visit their website today at www.thermeryusa.com and also find them on IG at thermeryusa. I guess I wanted to ask you, just to get the show started officially, was if you hadn't made that decision to start looking at your business differently, and then all of a sudden with the way the world turned out, would you guys have been in a far worse situation, not being as prepared as you were for it?
100%.
Probably would have been more than two people that you probably would have had to let go at that time, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, and so the strongest takeaway was one of the first exercises in that first 60 days was a financial exercise. And so we set up 5 bank accounts. They said, don't think we're crazy. You got to set up 5 bank accounts. So you already have 1 bank account, set up 4 more. So, and we're still operating like this to this day. We have we have a landing account. So any money that gets sent to the company during the week goes in a landing account. Every Sunday night, we clear them out. We do a percentage into operating, a percentage into profit, a percentage into a rainy day fund, and then a percentage into taxes. And we had to finesse that a little bit over a course of a year and a bit, just to kind of find the sweet spot. Now we have the sweet spot. So every week we dump the account. And what that did was when that started in March 2020 is we had all our accounts organized, and we had a rainy day fund, and we had a profit account. And so we were able to, we had a thinking cap on already because we'd been focusing so much on the business and efficiencies and how to just be a better company. And so we were able to take all of this that we were working on and jump in and make a new plan. So we did that live. Lindsay and I, was like 6 o'clock on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night, pulled out the whiteboard. That's what's funny actually, is that was also a trigger for us going from a whiteboard style project management, literally whiteboard updates.
Okay.
We went to a digital whiteboard.
Okay.
Because everybody was at home.
Yeah.
And now we're on Monday.com, which is I'm not trying to push the product, but it's an insane product. Yeah. And Lindsay's embraced it. Heather's embraced it. Nicole and the interiors team have embraced it. It's a wicked tool. But yeah, all these things, very much, drive back to, we were very committed at that time to just being a better company, being better for our team members, being better for ourselves, being better financially, being better for our clients, for our builders. And so we were able to make those decisions quick enough.
So you've been in it for how long now?
So 14 years. January was our 14-year anniversary
SMPL,
as a company.
Right?
Yeah.
But did you, what's your background? Where did you get started?
So grew up in Oakville, actually,
okay,
just up the road. When I was done high school, went to college. So my mom was awesome. She's like, listen, for you to go and do architecture, you need to be better in physics. You hate physics. It's not happening. So
I love that you started by saying my mom was awesome.
Yeah. She's like here's how it is, right? And so she was, and so my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, they all went to university. They all actually went to Queen's. And I was just like, lone wolf out there that's going to college. But yeah, she's like, you want to do architecture, and that path isn't right for you. So go over here to do architectural technology, go to college. You don't have to do physics. You still need math. You still need all of these other elements, but you don't need physics.
Why did she say that path wasn't right for you at the time in your life? Is that what it was? I was just struggling with physics as a class, and I hated it. I could not comprehend it. And that was the hill I had to get over, and I couldn't get over it. And so she's like, well, if you can't do that's a requirement. It's a prescriptive requirement to get into that program. But with architectural technology, it isn't a prescriptive requirement. So maybe try that route. Then we started researching it. We checked out a few schools like Sheridan. We went out to Mohawk. We went to Algonquin College in Ottawa. That's where I ended up landing, was in Ottawa. And yeah, thank God we did, because it was way more practical in terms of training methodology, and it was a perfect stepping stone for my brain and how I functioned. So yeah, it was a wicked decision. So left Oakville, went to Ottawa, was there for school for 3 years. Studied like crazy. I was insanely passionate, loved it, just ate it up. Met some really cool people, met my wife. We've been together literally since first year college. What was she studying?
She was studying corrections.
Okay.
And that
just in case the architect thing didn't work out.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what she was up to. And we met first year college. Literally, like the first day that I was there, I met her, and then started dating in October, and been together for 21 years this year.
Good to hear. Yeah.
So and then from there, landed at college. College was amazing, but I always wanted to live in BC. It was just like always on my list. I'm a huge snowboarder. Love the mountains. I was never out there. Never went out there growing up as a kid. I always went to Tremblant with my family.
Okay.
So so found a job. Moved out west right after school. We just packed up the Subaru and off we went. And so I worked for 2 different companies over 4 years. And one really, really amazing company, still super inspirational for me to this day as a company in terms of the work that they do. Amazing. Spearhead. It used to be called Spearhead Timberworks. Now it's Spearhead. So I was there, ended up within 24 months going from, modeler to assistant design department manager. But it wasn't really enough. It was just wanted something more. So I ended up getting a job offer at another local organization. They were a prefab home company.
Okay.
So I left Spearhead. Didn't want to, but I just wanted to kind of move up in my career ranking. And so left there, went to Mandala Custom Homes, ended up being the design director there. And so, we were pushing the envelope with our conventional product that Mandala did for 20-something years before I got there. But I was always in the back of my mind insanely passionate about modern. Loved Frank Lloyd Wright growing up. Loved Mies van der Rohe growing up, right?
You totally see it.
Yeah, and so I actually on my own time, I actually designed a series of modern prefab homes for my boss. And I went in one day and I did a presentation. I said, listen, we have the ability to ramp up production. Our production isn't at capacity. We can build more houses. So let's try this new series of houses. So Lars, was like, okay. So I was doing the website updates at the time. So I threw the 4 houses up on the website. We sold one of the houses in 24 hours. It was in BC. It was on one of the islands, and what island it was escapes me right now, but sold in 24 hours. And then so we signed that contract, and about a week later, we had a gentleman, Paul Smith. Paul Smith came in to the office and he wanted to hire us. He's like, I want to do a prefab house. I saw your houses, but I want you guys to do something more custom for me in town. And we're like, I was like, this is amazing. This is a huge opportunity, And so Paul left. Lars came into my office. He's like, we're not doing the house. I was like, what do you mean we're not doing the house? He's like, we don't do modern houses. We're going to take the houses off the website. I was like, what?
There's a revenue stream here.
Huge revenue stream.
There's a creative stream here.
Yeah. So his product is round homes. So 28 facets, 32 facets. So he's like super earth friendly, eco conscious, which I am as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that we have to build round houses, right?
Yeah.
So had to walk away from that contract. Had to take the houses off the website. We built that one house. It was awesome. Clients were stoked. So Paul tracks me down in town, because I was doing a little bit of side hustle. He didn't find
somebody else to do it.
No, he did. I did a bit of side hustle work. So I had these like tiny little ads in this newspaper called the Pennywise, and it was JT Designs.
Okay.
So Paul calls me. I had a home phone. I didn't even have a cell phone. Calls my home phone number. Hey, I tracked you down. Joel, we got to sit down and grab a coffee. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Small little vibe of stalkingness going on there.
Yeah, totally. Right. I mean, small town. And he was looking for somebody. He's like, well, if they're not going to do it, who's going to do it? So Paul's like, listen, like the meeting went so well, you have to design my house.
Yeah.
So we worked out a fee structure, $6,500, which for me, I was like, I was making
a huge amount.
I remember I was making $67,000 at the time.
Okay.
And so for me, it's like $6,500. Like that's 10% of my salary on one house. I'm
like,
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So I was like, Paul, give me 24 hours. So I went in the next day. I said, Lars, listen, we're a little bit quiet right now. I'm going to take a 30-day sabbatical. Just give me 30 days. I'm gonna let Lee Mayo. He was working with me. We were really good buddies. I said, I'm gonna let Lee run the department. I'm gonna take 30 days. Lars was like, yeah, sure, it's fine.
Did he suspect anything?
Not really.
Not really, huh?
And I just never went back. So I incorporated. Well, I didn't incorporate. I incorporated about 10 years ago. But I founded a company 2010 January, and Paul was my first client. And we did his house, and I just never went back. Just like snowballed into other projects.
How did the house turn out?
It's on my arm.
Look at that, huh?
Yeah. So that was our first project, and funny. So like I love this story. It's so ridiculous to tell, but I was camping. My wife and I were camping on the shores of Kootenay Lake, and I probably had like way too many beers.
There's no such thing.
24, right?
There's no such thing.
Yeah,
unless the police are involved.
So I have my sketchbook, and like sketched out the house that weekend. Just by the campfire at the lake, just like, here's what we're doing. So then I went back into town, sat down with Paul. He's like, yep, I love it. Let's do it.
How did it go? The whole build, everything went well? It was
awesome.
Super client, like everything.
So wicked client. I still talk to him to this day. And actually the builder, Jeb actually just texted me. He's a really good buddy of mine. We still do at least 2 houses a year with each other. He's still in Nelson.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk all the time. We still do houses, and so 14 years we've been working together. So yeah, it's a bit about how the company started.
That's funny that you have the tattoo actually there. I remember my early days of social media when I finished building my first house. I actually photoshopped the floor plans on my arm.
That's awesome.
And then everybody was like, that's really cool. Like, I'm looking forward. I'm going to do my own tattoo like that. And I was like, this is all Photoshop. This is like I'm not putting someone else's house on my arm. If it's my house, and it's like, that's a different story. But
that's hilarious.
So it's really funny that you brought that up. And you should. It's great that it's attached to that story, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Such a shame. Well, it's not what a missed opportunity that they didn't. It's not that. I guess they were just focused on their plan, right?
Yeah, they were just dead set on a product that they sold, right? And they couldn't get their heads wrapped around having 2 products. is really what it came down to. And it's like, especially, you know, when you have a warehouse full of employees, full of overhead,
opportunity,
you would think you would want to just pump product out of there. But he, to this day, is cranking around houses.
But it doesn't sound like there's any regrets on your end on this opportunity, how it's kind of unfolded, right?
Zero.
And when did you leave BC and started focusing on this end of the country?
Yeah, so we were in BC, so we moved out there in 2006, started the company in 2010, January.
Okay.
In the fall of 2011, so my wife, her dad, Steve, had a heart attack. And lucky he was okay.
Okay.
But she's just like, I'm done. Like, we're going back. I'm like, yep, no worries. All good. Like, completely understood. So, yeah, so that was fall 2011. So then we sold our house and moved back in May 2012.
Okay.
And that's when I brought the business back to Ontario. That was a real eye opener.
Well, 2012 Ontario wasn't liking 2012 BC.
Nowhere close.
Nowhere near it. Now, you talk Ontario, BC, they want every BC home here.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
Yeah, it was pulling teeth
Yeah.
to try to get people to do cool shit
Yeah.
in 2012.
Still pulling
and
teeth
13
today.
and 14. Luckily for us as a company, we've always been passionate about modern. Modern for us is a plethora of meanings. It doesn't just mean we do like boxes. It's like whether it's Scandinavian influenced or even heritage modern influenced, which we posted a couple days ago on Instagram. People ate up. Miami modern, Asian influenced modern. I follow a ton of architects in New Zealand and Australia. The stuff that they're doing down there is incredible. And so we're boring in North America. We're so boring. Right? And so for us, we've always been trying to push the boundaries with creativity. And so for the last 5 years, luckily, for the most part, clients are coming to us because they want a unique product. It's like, if I'm going to spend the money, I want what I want. I want my house. I don't want that house. I want my house. And that's what we sell as a product. It's like, okay, it's great that you like house A or house B or house C that we've done in the past, but that was like 4 years ago. By the time you get hired on, do the design, get the permits, go through variants, build the house, get the clients to move in to a point where it looks amazing and you do photos to then put it on your website, it's been 4 years. So it's like, for me, it's like, oh, that's like so 2020. That's so 2021. It's like, what is the new limit that we're pushing to? That's what we're always trying to do every day, right? Is reinvent the wheel. We don't copy paste, nothing. Call me and you want to buy that house? Not happening. We only do custom design. That's our specialty, our passion, our forte. That's how we function as a company. Does it cost us money to do that? Absolutely. Could we?
Is it worth it? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Could we be more profitable if we were copying and pasting? Probably. Would I be bored off my gourd? Would the team be bored?
100%.
Absolutely.
You would lose so much interest
Yeah.
and opportunity to create something new.
Which drives back to, in my opinion, why people want to work at our company. It's like, it's not easy. The level of stress in our company on a day-to-day basis obviously varies, the intensity level. But we do 50 houses a year. It's a lot of projects. It's a lot of houses. It's a lot of clients. It's a lot of builders. It's a lot of materials. It's a lot of decisions. It's a lot of process management, NEC, conservation, city, variance. Like, it's a lot. There's 20 of us. It's constant. It's constant. But it's, I think we've got a good thing going, and we're pushing to keep our clients happy, pushing to keep our builders happy, pushing to keep our team happy with what they're doing. That's why we get up every day.
These clients, I mean, I love what you're saying, and I 100% agree with a lot of that. It's just at some point you start losing love sometimes because you're getting clients that are coming in. I almost feel like they're trying to change you, when the reverse is not you trying to change them. You're trying to deliver what they passionately want. Yep. But they're hesitant about pulling the trigger and saying, yes, that's what I really want. Because I think in the back of their head, they're concerned what the neighborhood's going to think of them, or they're concerned about what their friends and family are going to think of them. When a person's home is so personal, like, it's just like, you got people that are so fixated on the for sale sign. They're so fixated on staying and not rocking the boat. Yeah. And you're right. I love that you said that Ontario and Canada is, generally speaking, boring. Nobody wants to try anything. Your clients that you're getting interested in working with you guys are they diehard true Canadians that have been here this time and they've got an opportunity now to build a house? Or are they people that have a heritage from someplace else and they've kind of moved here and been here maybe a decade or so, and now they're like, we're ready to do our house. We want our house. We don't want to buy a house. We want our house. So we want to find the right person to design and build our house, right?
So definitely all walks of life.
Okay.
People that have been in Canada forever, newcomers, like Great Point, like in the last 10 years that are at a point where they want to make that investment. But the consistency is 80% of our clients want something truly unique for them and their family specifically. And so our job as designers is to curate that product. I'm not living in the house. My house it's a 2,000 square foot bungalow, brand new build, no basement. People think I'm crazy. Like, what the hell are you doing, Joel? It's like, that's all we want. We don't need anything more, right? Yeah, I could have done a 4,000 square foot. Well, theoretically, I could have built a 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 square foot house on that property. I can't afford that. Can't afford to build it. I can't afford to maintain it. I want to travel. I want to enjoy time with my family. Like, I don't want that burden. And so we very much underdeveloped our property. But I don't care. I'm like long-term, short-term from an investment perspective. I've seen it enough, whether it be with Mark Berman, M. Berman Homes he pushed the limits on 431 Mary Street in Hamilton. That house sold for record numbers back in the day it was like 1.2, 1.3 million. 133 Strawn, which we did with Nicole Jacobs, who's actually now part of my team. She's been with us 3 years, but we've known each other for almost a decade.
Strawn in Toronto?
This is Hamilton North End. Both of them Hamilton North End, sold for $1 million literally in like a day. We had a house in East Oakville just sell in November. Oakville, okay? Terrible market. November 2023.
Quiet. Yeah.
Sold in 3 weeks, 7.1 million. So we have examples, I can go up to Thornbury. We did 57 Cameron, sold in November 2022, asking top of the market around like 3.9, sold for 100,000 over asking in 48 hours, multiple offers. And so time and time again, over the years with different product in different municipalities with different clients and different investment strategies are making money. And it's all unique product. This isn't a copy paste product. It's all unique product. And so the interesting thing is that we now have enough examples that even the people that are timid about that investment, I can say, listen, go drive by these 5 houses. All those clients made money in different market segments too, in different market segments, in different timing of markets. But the consistency with our clients, 80% of them, is that they want something truly unique and very much for their family. And that's what we sell. So I'm not living in your house. However, you've come to us for a reason. You came to us because we very much deliver a specific product.
Yeah.
And you want that product. So I'm here to take you outside your comfort zone, introduce you to new ideas. I might go too far, or our team might go too far at the start in terms of design inspiration. I'd rather try something and fail and have to reset than to just do the norm. I'm not building a 2-story box with a hat on it. We tell our team all the time, stop it with the hats on the houses. Like, Jesus, it's brutal, right? So
I've never heard it that way, but it's so true, man. It's like 100% true.
You get to Toronto, it's like there's just hats everywhere. Like, that's
now
modern.
I'm gonna start driving around Toronto.
Stucco.
I don't want to get into that world.
I can't do it.
Like, Joel, I'm gonna say, like, I honestly think that you have that consistency in the market, in different markets, different times of what's going on economically. I think because it has your fingerprint on it. I think that if you didn't build that style of house with those details that are associated with your brand, I think it would have been more of a challenge to sell those properties.
Yeah.
Because I think people are walking in and they're seeing that there's some uniqueness in that fingerprint. And all of a sudden they're like, I really want this house. There's something about it. People walk into a home, it's a feeling that they get. It's not a visual, it's a feeling.
Oh, yeah.
First.
Time.
So if you don't push a little bit, and I agree with you, you want to push, and builders should be doing the exact same thing. They should be coming up with options as well. A conversation that's not had is a missed opportunity when you're building something. So it doesn't matter if you scare them and the clients or even the crew or anybody else that's on the design side of things. At least we have this conversation. Let's just discuss this. This may go way too extreme, but someone might get sparked from that extreme and all of a sudden think, why don't we try this? And then it gets brought back down to reality, right?
So what I love is that time and time again over the years, those projects where we pushed the limit and we pushed it too far and we hit the reset, 99% of the time we end up with a new design that the client loves. Those projects don't die.
No.
We resurrect them because it's like, that's not built. That client didn't like it and we loved it. How can we take that idea and transform it for this property? We're not copying and pasting, but we liked element A, B, C, D, and E and how it came together holistically. Yeah. So how can we take those ideas and put it into this project, right? And so that's why it is an investment. It's an investment in future projects as well, right? And finding that happy medium. And so, once clients, I think even the clients actually that you try that with, and you fail with, and then you hit the reset and you get to the finish line, I think they are more impressed with the process than the people that you hit the nail on the head the first time. They tend to ask questions later.
It's not worth it.
Right? Yeah.
It's not worth it, right?
Yeah.
You ever get clients sometimes like revisiting certain stages, like they still carry those original sketches, those original ideas that come up?
So
they probably do.
They do, and like they come back. So
of course they do.
We did a really cool house up in town of Blue Mountains. So it was a house for the clients to move into. The client's a builder, insane, like super talented. So Sunvale Homes, who that's their kind of conglomerate subdivision development brand. He's now rebranded for his custom outfit. So he's trying to do something a little bit different than what his father did for years and years, is Mastaya Homes. And so the first house we did with him, Hayden's one of our lead designers, push the limits. And they were like, they fully retracted on a lot of the details. I'm not saying that the home isn't awesome, because you drive by now and you walk through the house, it's awesome. However, the great thing is they came back to us in November and they'd moved in. Okay. And they said, "Hey guys, I just want to circle back and let you know how you hit the nail on the head with that original concept, and we just weren't ready for it." And what that, and again, it's not to say that we're not happy with what we ended up with, but what it does reinforce is that you're the right designer for our next project. We bought the lot next door. We're doing the house next door. Let's rock and roll. So we just finished design concepts on house number 2 right next door, which we pushed the limits a little bit further, right? So it's like, okay, here's option A, which is a little bit safer. Option B is now absolutely pushing the boundaries more than that first house. And so they're getting there, but we're getting there in a format that works for the client. And so that client, he knows how he's going to execute on the glass railing and on the window install and on the trim assembly and the front door and the pad and the chimney, even before we send him the construction plans. Yeah. Absolutely, it's in his head. Yeah. He's that type of guy. And we have those types of builders, right? And so it's for that reason that first house ended up so great. Right? Because, it wasn't exactly what we wanted as a design professional, but because he just perfectly executed the important elements of the project, that's what sets it apart from the neighborhood, right?
For sure.
So now he's going to do it again as a pure investment, next door, do the same details, but a little bit of a more edgy product, So it's nice when they do actually come back like full circle and you're like, oh, this is awesome, So we're doing this for a reason, So
how are your clients finding you? Is it gotten to the point now, I guess it's just on the street, it's word of mouth. This is the style of home that we're thinking about. Let's go speak to you guys. Is that what's happening?
It's a damn hard question to answer. So since November 2022, we ramped up a pretty intense marketing campaign. So for example, like 2021, spent like $10,000 on marketing. 2022, 25,000. 2023, 120,000. 2024, we'll probably hit 200,000. So
justifiable spending though.
Yeah. So what we're doing is, so I still manage the Instagram page, post every 2 days.
Okay.
I'm still shooting the videos with Craft Photo Video. It's our lead when it comes to doing all of our feature Fridays and our drone shots. He does all the editing for those, and then I'm posting them. But we spend a ton of money on Google AdWords. And then it's the build out of the cost of hiring Simon to do the videos. It's the cost internally of doing, special posts. If we spend 3-4 hours on a special post on Instagram, there's a cost associated there.
Yep.
But one shift that we did in 2024 is we're spending more money on Google AdWords, and we've actually completely eliminated any print media for now. So
paying attention to print media.
That's exactly it, right? So for us as a firm to go from $3,000 or $4,000 a month in Google AdWords to $5,000 or $6,000 and not doing any print advertising, the amount of leads we generate from that. So it's a combination, right? So we're not marketing specialists.
No, you're trial and error. You're figuring out what's going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it's a combination of Google AdWords, feature Friday videos, Instagram every 48 hours, pounding the pavement with our builders, and those relationships for us is like so critical, which is why I mentioned Jeb, right? We've been working with each other for 14 years.
Yeah.
Mike from Praxis was on with you a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Mike, I've known him since elementary high school, and we've been doing work for 10 years together.
Okay.
So those relationships that we've formed, whether it's a 2-year-old relationship, a 4-year-old relationship, or a 14-year-old relationship, they're critical because they're bringing us projects. And in turn, we're going to bring that project. If Mike from Praxis brings me a home, it's going right back to Mike. If M. Berman brings me a home, it's going right back to M. Berman. And so those relationships are so critical for us. Then we've got repeat customers. I have some clients we've done 3 houses for. We have
divorces.
You know what? We're pretty good with limited divorces.
I'm just saying. I mean, I guess they're wealthy enough that they want to maybe just change up or drive or something like
People
that.
get bored, even though it's a special product, or it's, long-term play investment. There's all these variables, right? Totally. And then family members, friends,
expansion things,
all these variables. So really for us, from a marketing perspective, in terms of where's our work coming from, it's just like it's all these angles.
I want the hammer to be dropped on these young builders, these young people coming into the industry, to understand how valuable that one word relationships means in construction.
Yeah,
you have to factor in the residue that you leave regarding an impression and what you want to build with a future builder or a future architect, a future designer, future anybody. You got to cultivate that relationship, man.
Yeah, you do. And it's, I was actually talking with one of my colleagues about this, just in terms of, we're trying to shift that relationship where it's not just Joel, right? Because there's 20 of us at the office, right? We have 4 leadership members. It's myself, it's Lindsay, it's Heather, it's Nicole. And then we have 16 other people at the office, right? So it's not just relationships with Joel, call Lindsay, call Heather, call Nicole, call Ava, call Sarah. Like, we all have a role at the company. Otherwise, why would we have them in the office if they weren't doing a job? They're all doing work, right? So again, we talked about cultivating those relationships just outside of Joel, not just focusing on calling me all the time. And it's, and so it's this thing that, we're just starting to talk about that. I haven't initiated that, from a CEO perspective. It's just something we're talking about, that it is, those relationships are so critical. And we as an industry have been insanely lackadaisical on marketing and on those relationships for the last 4 years, because work's come easy. It's, we 8, 12, 24, 36, 48 months ago, send out a contract that's signed. When can we start? No questions, right?
It's a different game this year.
Absolutely. It's a different game. And so cultivating those relationships with the designers, cultivating the relationship with the client, that it's critical that we come together as a team. Yep. We're all here to collaborate. Yep. And I don't mind meeting new builders. I'm not anti-new builders ever. What I want to do is make sure that, we just had a project launch on Tuesday in the office with a brand new builder. Client brought the builder to the table, Shilstra out of Grimsby.
Okay.
And I said, we got to do this in a new format for 2024, because we are not anti-new builder, but we want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And it's like, hey, listen, Phil, we're here to support you. The client has hired you as the builder. We're now here to support you so that the client gets what they're paying for, right? And so if you have a question, call us, right? If I have a question, I'm going to call you or I'm going to email you. Yep. It's going to happen, right? And so setting that expectation of don't feel bad by picking up the phone and calling us or driving to the office and having a meeting. It is what it is. We got to get to the finish line together, right? And so we're we are taking a new approach to that in 2024. Again, with our older builders that we have longstanding relationships with, and with these new builders coming on board that clients inevitably bring to us, because again, it's a relationship, right? So if whoever, Tammy and Dave have a client, as a client, have a builder, and that builder came from a relationship, whether it be a family member or a friend or the neighbor, and they saw the process and loved the process, and they bought into it. Awesome. Let's work together. Let's get to the finish line, right? Because, for me to be comfortable with that builder, that's my problem. I got to deal with that, right? The client is already comfortable with the builder. So now it's our job as a company to be comfortable with that builder and to support them, right? We're not there's no reason to be negative about the situation.
Well, the builder is going to bring their A game. You're bringing your A game. That's what the client is asking from both parties, right? So you might as well collaborate.
Yeah. And we've seen, there's been times over the years where, it still happens to us, right? Where the builder has to control the process, doesn't want us involved. And it's like, and I shake my head, because it's like, who is this benefiting?
Nobody.
You think as the builder that's benefiting the client. It's not. You're pushing us. It's like, you're devaluing our service. Yeah. We've been in this relationship for 2 years. We've been through variants, architectural, interiors, talked about furniture, and now you're pushing us out of the process. It's like, why? We're the ones with all the answers.
There's no point in that whatsoever.
Yeah, not one phone call, right? And it's like, I don't understand why. We're hounding them to see where we're at on site. And because we want, from an interior design perspective, we've got the architectural studio. We also do full interior design. We always want to do pre-installation inspection. Are the plugs good? Are the switches good? Are the lights good? Are we going to have issues in 2 months when we go to install cabinetry? We want to be a part of that, because there might be something that we see that the builder hasn't seen, and the client has no idea. They walk around, they're like, oh yeah, I like the light fixtures. Looks good. It's not their job, right? And so we're bringing that value to the table for the builder, and more importantly for the client, right?
It's interesting that you bring that up, because I do see a lot of individual tradespeople having the blinders on, where they'll come on a job site and the cogs are there and they're just so used to it. So you'll walk into a kitchen, whatever room it is.
Yeah.
This is based on code. This is exactly where the plug should be. This is exactly where the reset lighting is supposed to be. But no, it doesn't. I look at code as code is one thing.
Yeah.
And your client and the objective of the design is a completely other thing.
Yeah.
So I'm conscious of this. I'm always looking at certain things. They're going, I want these plugs certain here. I want these resets light here. Yeah. I'm a big fighter on, I don't care about how the symmetry looks on the ceiling regarding the lighting. I care about what the lighting is doing regarding that room, the function of that room. So it's like, you don't just phone it in, so to speak, when it comes to the tradesperson. Yeah. And I get it that some builders might be so busy that they trust their trades and they'll come in, but they just do it by the book. They should be having a conversation where I'm sure that you present certain scopes.
Yeah.
This is a room. This is what the client is asking for. This is what we're thinking design wise.
For sure. We have it all laid out, right?
Yeah.
All the plugs are laid out. The switches are laid out. The pots are laid out. The track lights are laid out.
That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's the whole house, right?
Yeah. And so it's like, so as a trade, you have no idea what conversations have been had, right? And so we have that floor plug there because the clients just spent $40,000 on a Montauk sofa, and it's a U-shape, and they want a lamp beside it, and it's an open concept room, and there's no walls, right? So we need that floor plug, not here. We need it over that one bay, because otherwise the wire's not going to work. You're going to see the wire, right? So it comes down to those little inconsistencies, and it just popped into my head. Like one thing we always run into with electricians and with cabinet makers is who's supplying that track lighting. It's always this one.
It's always either a fight. It's always a fight or a collaboration.
For sure.
Right. And you're going, why does it have to be either? I don't understand. Right.
Yeah, it is. That's all 14 years in, it's always an issue. Well, we're not doing it. Oh, we're not doing it. It's the
latest thing is,
can we all just get to the finish line together?
You'll get electricians who are I got a great product. I got a great angle. I got a great whatever. And I'm that's wonderful that you've researched that. But how about we actually find out what the homeowner, the client is already thinking? And then the conversation that they've had with the designer / the architect, see what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Like me personally, I see a lot of, and I'm just going to say this out loud. I looked at your feed, I looked at your projects, and I'm very impressed by them. And you tell me, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see a single shaker style kitchen in any of your projects.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like even an option, or the clients come to you and ask you for that, or you guys are presenting different types of. I look at your work and your portfolio, and I'm like, there's a reason why you don't necessarily always need to have the typical go-to what Canadian style home is.
Yeah.
Like there's other options, other veneers, other things that we can be creative with.
Yeah.
And here you go. So why aren't we paying attention to these other new ideas?
And what's nice is, like, for instance, like our partners in the industry, we're busy, right? We don't always have time to research. And so it's not, tomorrow we've got one of our siding installation companies that does a bunch of work with our different builders of ours, not just one builder. He works with probably 6 of our builders. So he's coming in to show us a new product line in our biweekly designer meeting. Cause he's like, listen, I like this product. I like how it functions. It's got cool color options and detail options. I think it could work for your houses. So I'm going to bring it in. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Show us the products,
Let's
right?
do the homework.
Same with our lighting supplier. Our lighting supplier, Beata, CLD in Stony Creek. She always, like, I bet you twice a month, sending Nicole and I and Alyssa new products. Like, and again, there might be nothing in there that we're interested in, but the next month there might be 7 products that pique our interest. And then it's like, hey, this will work well over here and that'll work well over there.
But it's the conversation associated with that presentation that I'm interested in as well. Yeah. Because then you're just talking about, they're the people that are going to get wind of what's coming down the pipe. I used to joke in my early days of construction where I was always pressing myself onto the brands and going, listen, I want to do a factory tour. I want to get a site. I want to go take it. I want to see. And I'm always asking, what's coming down the pipe?
Yeah.
What's being released? I know you guys are like Apple. You guys are already thinking about new material that's coming down in second, third, fourth quarter of the year.
Yeah.
Just tell me, give me a hint of what it is.
Yeah. Cause this house isn't going to be finished for 18 months. And so if we go and pick all the fixtures now,
exactly.
Right. So can we just have a placeholder? Right.
Just give me a wink of what you think is coming down the pipe, and I'll keep it in my little music box for now.
Yeah.
And then when that drawing gets to where we want it to get to, by the way, I heard a little something might be coming down.
Well, like Luigi at Concept Flooring in Oakville here, he's on Spears, and I had dinner with him a couple weeks ago, and he was, he's always about like bringing in. So he goes to Italy 4 times a year, and he brings containers back 4 times a year. So it's like direct to consumer Italian product. And he's like, Joel, we need to do more work together, right?
Can you bring some pasta back too?
Yeah, exactly.
I have a hard time finding pasta here in Canada that doesn't have all the bullshit in it. You know what I mean? I want just real Italian pasta.
I want the legit. Yeah, exactly.
Put flooring in pasta crates, man. That's all I want. That would be amazing if you could do that. No, but I like people like that because what they're doing is they're giving you and your clients huge amount of discussion points and options, man. I love that.
And it's without that, because we're always trying to take things outside of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
But without those kind of connection points, and people reach out to us all the time, right? And we have amazing relationships. We're not always forming new relationships, but those relationships that we have, why wouldn't they continue to reach out and bring us new ideas, right? Because it's just more product for them to sell. And so yeah, it is. But it comes down to relationships, right? That's where we started.
No, it's where it all started. But I also
like everything.
I want these people to also understand, and I say people, I mean the tradespeople. I want them to understand that don't always think that you're the go-to one all the time.
Yeah.
That relationship is being tested all the time too. Don't think that just because you got in.
Yeah.
I've always joked with a lot of people. I go, it's not the first job.
Yeah.
It's the second job you got to worry about.
Yeah, and it's interesting. And we get calls, because we work with so many builders. Probably work with like 25, 30 builders, probably more than that, right? If I had to make a list. And we'll get subs calling us, subs that we know that have worked for builder A and worked for builder B and worked for builder C. And they're like, hey, like, how do I get in with builder D? Like, I've quoted 4 jobs and I've gotten nothing. And at least I can educate them and be like, listen, here's the deal. This is how that company functions. They go out to tender. They get 3 bids on every single element. That's their job. That's what they've been hired to do. Not everybody functions that way. Some builders are like, yeah, no, I'm only working with this electrician or maybe this electrician. And I only have 2 plumbers and I might only get 1 price. And that's fine. I have nothing against that. When you have relationships and it's going to get you to the finish line faster, save the client money, great. But that company very specifically gets 3 quotes on every single element. Yeah. And it's up to the client to make the decision. And if there's $600 to save and they want to save that $600,
they will.
So it's going to happen.
And it's their right to.
Right? And I said, it's not the builder. It's not the builder pushing you off.
No.
It's their process. And that client is paying for that service.
Yep.
They decided that that's the service they want to get to the finish line. And so you can't hold it against the builder. That's a system.
I've been hearing a lot of clients now are doing that. So they were almost walking in, trusting you, trusting who you recommend, trusting the whole process. But now they're actually getting more into, I need you to tender out the tender that you were awarded.
Yeah.
Which it's in their right to do it. Like they should be doing that.
Well, and especially with the market shift.
Yeah.
Right? And so, because it's not the same environment anymore, and trades are available again. And so I had a conversation last week with one of my clients and they said, oh, like, is it true that pricing is down like 30 points? And so if you think about it, it's an interesting theory, because if somebody a year ago were to have said, hey, can I build a house for 30% less next year? I'm like, oh, you're absolutely crazy. It's not happening. But here's a theory. 12 months ago, 16 months ago, 24 months ago, we were too damn busy. Everybody surveyors, designers.
Couldn't find people.
Couldn't even get product.
Yeah.
So HVAC contractor comes in, put a price together. It's like 56 grand. It's like, you know what? I have too much going on. My price isn't 56,000. It's $72,000. Right? Right?
That was the mentality.
That was the mentality.
Yeah.
So if that was the mentality a year and a half ago, here we are today, a year and a half later. That opportunity of that extra percentage is gone. Not only that, but the competition is stiff. So now, and I deal with it in our sector too, from a sales perspective. We shifted our sales process massively in October. It wasn't easy anymore.
But you had to, because you're reading the landscape.
Yeah. And so I think I was wrong a year ago when I told clients that absolutely you will not save 30% on your house next year. Because I think we're in a position now where things are no longer getting overpriced and overinflated, and it's getting back to normal. So it's like, oh shit, like there might be actually like a significant savings. I built my house in 2021. My lumber package, 2,000 square foot bungalow.
No, I know, I can imagine.
90 grand. I didn't even have a floor, a concrete floor. So I had walls and a roof, $90,000. That today, probably 30 grand.
It's true.
So,
but there was nothing to. And I know some insider stuff, like like when it was going on regarding certain lumber suppliers in Canada specifically, they were just poking the industry bare.
Yeah.
They were just testing it out, going,
yeah,
the world's going to shit. Let's just put this at this price.
Yeah.
And people were buying it.
Yeah.
They were forced to buy it. And then they made cake on top of cake on top of cake.
Well, it's kind of like the food industry right now. Food industry in Canada, that's kind of where we're at right now. Like, it's still happening.
It's really bad now. It's just like, it's kind of bad and good, because I think what's going to be happening is a lot of people are just going to like, I can just cook at home and make a better meal, so to speak. And which is unfortunate, because I definitely want to support small mom and pop businesses and getting out there. Same thing with the whole construction landscape. But yeah, you're right. I think it's like, we get asked all the time, what do you think it's going to become? I mean, it's hard to, even if you speak to a builder that's been around for 5 decades or whatever, it's kind of hard to say. Like, the one thing you can do is, I don't think you can factor in the funny 2 years that we had. Mm-hmm. I think that was just a variable of like way too many things that were like, we don't know how to control. We don't know anything about this stuff. Yeah. But you can't compare today to those. You can compare it to 2019. Yeah. Go back on that train and then start going, based on what 2020, like 2016, 17, 18, 19 was, we are on track for doing that now.
And even 2020, because 2020, like, as much as it was
the start
COVID,
of it,
the start of it, right? Like, up until probably September. Things were getting weird with material delivery, but costing wasn't really out of control. So yeah, if you look at, it'd be interesting to look at the numbers, 2019 into 2020 versus today and what's happening. And And the other thing we struggled with too, right? We as designers got the question from our clients, right? It's like, okay, well, if everything's up 40%, right? And the builders are charging 12 points, it's not up 40%, it's up 40%. And then there's their 12 points on that extra 40 points, right? Yeah. So then it got into like, okay, what do we do with these builders and how do we have these hard conversations, right? Because you get into the idea of not doing a percentage-based management fee structure. You get into like a monthly fee structure based on deliverables, or you get into a fixed cost. Okay, we're going to build a house, $180,000. But it's a different. It was
a nice education on customer service.
Yeah.
It was a great way to kind of read people and understand, because I'm sure you had a number of extra conversations that were centered around some of these light items that you in your history, your experience, have never seen these items get that high.
Yep.
You're like, I don't understand why this lumber package is triple, quadruple the price.
Yep.
I don't get it. I don't know what to give you as an answer. But obviously you had clients coming in here because they were probably allocating certain funds to certain other departments, other line items, i.e. design elements, right? Which definitely you don't want to have a beautiful empty house, right? So you still have to factor on all those things. But I guess you had to somewhat get a little structurally creative, because I know that there was the wood issue, there was the engineered lumber, there was the glue issue out of Texas. Like it was all these perfect storm things happening. And so all of a sudden people were opting to go steel and then change things. But steel didn't really solve the problem.
Yeah. ICF.
Exactly, right?
ICF up to the lid.
Yeah. It became a different model at that point, which was great, but now it's all leveled out now. During those years, ICF was comparable to going traditional framing. Yeah. But then even you got framers that are losing projects because now you're going modular framing. You're doing SIP panels and things like that, right? So all that. So there's like the clients are just looking at certain things and how they can do it, but you have to have the right people behind it.
Yeah.
You can't, I don't think it's a moment to have people, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
I think you got to bring a shadow on board that's been through that so you can educate them on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, it is an education, right? And we struggle with, when clients come to the table and they're like, so, what type of construction should we focus on for this house, right? And the issue is if clients that want to go ICF to the lid and then dunk a truss package on or a flat roof package on, I'm not against it. That's what Jeb does with all of his houses, and he's hitting passive standards out in BC with all of our designs. Yeah. But it's restrictive in its design, and it's restrictive in the sourcing and bid process. Yeah. How many ICF installers are there in Ontario?
Well, I'd go further. How many good?
Yeah, and
because a lot of jokers jumped on that train.
Yeah, and I'm not against it. I'm not against panelization. I'm not against SIPs, but I've been dealing with this issue up in Richmond Hill. Richmond Hill, the town will not let us do SIPs as a structural bearing assembly for the home. They will not allow it.
What's the reason?
It does not meet OBC equivalence or testing. It's the only municipality in Ontario that won't embrace it. So then you're forced to go with a hybrid solution where you have a timber superstructure, LSL, LVL timber, and then you're just paneling it. Well, at that point, just go conventional. And so there's always this kind of approach of like, well, what does make sense? And what are the benefits? And inevitably, all of our houses that we design in the studio have steel. Absolutely 100%. It's a mix of steel. It's a mix of wood.
You need it.
However, the nice thing about going conventional and then wrapping the house in, let's say, 3 inches of foam or 2 inches of foam is, we can go to our go-to framers, right? Like we have those relationships. And, so it gives the client a bit more control on the budget when you go quote unquote like conventional construction. We've got that house out in Peterborough. It's on Clear Lake.
Okay.
So it was engineered. The engineer is a semi-retired condo engineer. So the whole structure is steel. So steel superstructure for the entire home, Q decking, poured concrete slabs for the floor and for the roof, and then infill light duty steel framing, and then rigid foam on the whole building envelope. which I've never done before.
So I just, right there, I saw all of the trade sublines, all of their costs double or quadruple, like insane.
Coring for HVAC.
Yeah.
Coring for plumbing. Coring for electrical.
BX, electrical.
Tying in windows.
Yeah.
The foam installation. Just all these layers. So the house is going to last forever and more. However, it's like that project's been going on. It was probably 8 months. 8 months of shop drawing review.
How's it on budget wise? Is it on track or is it must have gone
nowhere close, but that's a longer story.
Yeah.
It started. So the reason that engineer was on the project is because of the builder that was on the project at the start. They're
the go-to Batman and Robin kind of thing?
Yeah. Right. So the client hired the builder. The builder said, "Oh, Joel, you're working with this engineer." Okay, sure. So, if that's what the client and the builder want, we're going to work with that engineer.
Okay.
We argued during the design process to try to save money, and they said, no, this is what they think we're going to do. Let's do that. Foundation was like not even halfway in, and the contractor got fired. So then with the contractor getting fired, the engineer walked away from the project. So then we had to go back to the table with one of our engineers and redo the plans and resubmit to the city with a new set of plans with the same structure because that engineer wouldn't touch it anymore. And then we had to go and get steel shop drawings and kind of reinvent the process with the new builders. So the new builder's killing it, but he was given a bit of a pile to deal with, right?
Wow.
So now it's up, it's standing, looks amazing. The steel erectors did a wicked job, and now they can cruise. However, yeah, the problems they're not done with the problems yet. It's gonna, tying in the stair, right? So now you're welding the stair assembly to the quad deck assembly. And
you increased the budget dramatically.
Oh, massive.
Is it... I mean, yeah, you're right. It's going to last forever, but is it worth the cost at that point? I don't know if it's worth the cost to go to that extreme.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't need to go to that extreme for the house to last forever.
Yeah,
right. Like it really comes down to how you clad and how you deal with the envelope, right? So are we using, peel and stick blue skin instead of Tyvek? I hate Tyvek with a passion, man. Oh man,
First of all, I think Tyvek should be removed from the code, but.
I get so frustrated. I drive by a site and it's like, what is happening? This is like a $4 million custom build and it's got Tyvek on it. And not only that, look at the install of the Tyvek. It's embarrassing. And the clients have no idea, right? So then we're standing back and saying like, why are we doing this? Why is this the standard, even in multi-million-dollar homes? So we changed our standards, 4 weeks ago, and I took Tyvek off my plans. So
good.
I took it off,
glad.
And so at least as a company, we've committed the fact that Tyvek is a shitty product, in our opinion.
And
right?
this show's brought to you by Tyvek.
Yeah, exactly. And so now it's like, okay, we've specified a peel and stick membrane, which we know is a superior product. It's actually easier to get a better product at the end of the day with less nonsense. Yeah. And so that's our standard. And if you don't follow that, that's your problem. That's not mine. My drawing stated peel and stick blue. It could be blue skin. It could be, there's any number of products, right? But like it has to be peel and stick.
But the OBC is a funny animal because it's like the people that are dictating what happens in that planet, don't realize exactly how far behind they are.
Yeah.
I think that the industry is moving way faster than they are.
Yep.
And they're not interested in trying to catch up to us, man.
Yeah. They don't have the resources, I don't think. Right? It's like
then give the resources there, right?
I know.
Take away from the people that are pushing heat pumps and put it into the OBC and start growing better ideas and building better. I think Canada should be leading in this industry, not trailing. Like we don't, our standards are, they'll argue over and over these stupid details that are not contributing to a better building structure, a better dwelling. Yeah. They'll put it in commercial applications and they apply it there, but they'll never apply it to residential applications where.
So when I built 3 years ago, so 2021, we built our house. I spent $1 million. It's 2,100 square feet. So my cost, I tell clients this, I'm very open. It's like, the first thing that we ask when you call our studio is, what is your construction budget? And if you think that you can build a home in Ontario right now for $300 to $400 a foot,
so you're out to lunch.
It is not happening.
You went into a DeLorean and came out in 1985. That's what you did.
Or it's like a 2-story vinyl clad box with vinyl flooring, that's in the middle of the
that's
sticks.
pushing it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And so we have that question right away. It's like, what's your budget? It's like, okay, listen, the dollar per square foot, we all know it's a nonsense number, but at least it's a starting point to having a conversation to get to, I want to build this home and spend $2 million, or I want to build this home and spend $1 million. So our budget in 2021 was $850,000. We spent $1 million.
That's the heyday too, right?
Yeah. There was $100,000 there out of the total budget. So I overspent by 150 grand, but of the 150 overages, 100 grand was just extras. And what I mean by extras is I wrapped the whole house in foam. I upgraded the windows. I have a fully vegetative green roof. We've got a solar panel array on the roof that costs us $25,000. We super insulated the floor because we have radiant in-floor heating. We don't have a crawl space or a basement. So we made these conscious decisions. We didn't pave our driveway. Our driveway is 60 feet long up to the front door. It's gravel. We have white, shiny gravel. And then we have this wild garden in the front. We don't have a lawn. There's all these commitments that we did to improve the energy efficiency of the home, to get a product that we were proud of, but also to push the limits in the industry and educate our clients so that they would do the same. So for me, for 10%, for me from an investment
makes so
perspective,
much sense.
Yeah, and so we're reaping the benefits because of how comfortable our home is in the summer months when the sun is beating down and it's hitting the garden and the vegetables and the plant
Cooling
life.
Your property.
And so that's the first thing we do, right? It's like, what is your budget? And within that, what do we want to do, right? And they're like, well, we want to spend $2 million and we want a 6,000 square foot home. So it's 6,000 above grade plus the basement. It's actually 8,500 square feet. So we can't do it. So then you kind of walk back and you say, here's how I get to where we need to be. So are you comfortable building 3,500 instead of 5,000 or so, right? Because if you're not, we can't get there. There's no magic wand to the construction sector. Costs, to a degree, are the costs.
Yeah.
When we go out to tender, quote unquote, tender with builders, we just did this with 4 builders. It was an interesting experiment in January with a multi-million-dollar home. And we had, when we got the budgets back, they were between 5.2 and 5.6 million. Okay. So for me, I'm like, you know what? That's a good number because we don't have engineering yet. We don't have HVAC yet. We don't have interiors yet. But we know that we can build the home for $5 to $6 million plus or minus. That's what all 4 of these builders have said. So that's when I told the client, I said, awesome, let's ignore that final number because we know that we're going to spend $6 million. Now let's pair back to builder A, B, C, and D and what their fee structures are and who are you comfortable with? Yeah. And right off the hop, they're like, well, we're not comfortable with the lowest bidder because of X and we're not comfortable with the highest bidder because of Y. I'm like, okay, they're off the table. Your last 2 bidders are within $10,000 of one another. It's nothing on a $6 million home. Pick the builder that you're most comfortable with and let's build this house for $6 million. And so to try to explain that to a client, I do it all the time, probably multiple times a week, gives me the comfort of knowing that I've educated them. Yeah. And sometimes the retort is, well, I have a friend in the industry or I'm in the industry or it's like, okay, you might be able to save a few bucks. But just because you have somebody in industry, and I go back to my house, I'm like, I built for $500 a foot, like my own personal house. I do 50 houses a year. I'm going
to listen to you. I'm going to be like, you give me the feedback because I don't want to go into the Amazon by myself. You know what I mean? And I want to go speak to somebody who's done it.
Yeah. It's like when when you're buying anything that you don't know anything, like I'm not going to go into a car dealership and question the cost of their vehicle. The cost of the vehicle is the cost of the vehicle. I've decided whether I want to buy a Toyota or a Porsche or a Lamborghini or whatever it is. I kind of have that commitment level. And so when you're coming into our studio, I actually call our clients the Porsche clients. So we have a lot of clients with Porsche. We're not like the Lambo client. We're not the Ferrari client. We're like the Porsche, where, they want like a solid product that has awesome classic design. Yeah. And they know they're paying a bit more, but they know what they're getting for that money, right? And they can absorb that. And the clients that don't want to pay, they're not the right client for us because they're not going to want to pay us what our fee structure is. They're not going to want to pay the builder what their fee structure is. And the project is going to be hampered. We're not going to be proud of it. We're not going to want to do a photo shoot of it. We're not going to push it into a magazine.
You want to have fun.
We're here.
Enjoy yourselves.
We want it. We do.
Yeah.
We do. All of us, right? Like, otherwise, why are we doing this? Why are we pushing ourselves every day, like 12, 14 hours a day, running our own businesses for what? You know, we want that passion to exude itself in the home. We want the client to love it. We want the builder to be proud. We want the trades to be proud. We want the landscaper to be proud. Otherwise, why are we doing what we're doing every day?
The other question that I would ask outside of the clients coming at you and saying that we want to build a house at this square footage price, the other question I would be asking them is, where is the money coming from? Is this 100% borrowed money? Is this what you've been approved? Like, that's a personal question to ask, but it's dictating where your knowledge comes from and what the cost of this structure is going to be.
Yeah.
If you really want to speak to a professional like yourself or speak to professional builders and tradespeople, you guys know what the price is. Going back to the car dealership, they built those vehicles. They know exactly what it costs to build those vehicles, what man, woman, whatever hours it takes to build that. They know what it costs. So this is the price. You can try to negotiate all you want. What you're negotiating is the profit margin on that price of that car. Same with homes.
Same with homes. It's what we do with builders.
How much does a builder want to eat? If he wants to get 12 points or not 12 points or maybe 6 points or 100%. Whatever it is.
Absolutely.
So I always want to know is, where's this money coming from?
Like,
it's money that you guys have saved and now you're ready to do your dream home and you want the perfect home for you to enjoy for the next whatever amount of years, then great, let's have that conversation. If it's the figure that's been given to you by your lending partner, it's a different conversation at that point.
Because then it becomes trickier for the builder because then 100%. They fund the project.
They're the exactly.
Right. And then you get into this war at the end of the project where the builder's not paid, which means the subs aren't paid, which means work's not happening. The client is angry and you're in a stalemate, right? And so the only way to the finish line is for the builder to fund the project to get the final draw for the client to move. Like, it's this fiasco, right?
It happens all too often in the industry.
It does. And it's our job. We're step number one. Right? We are step number one. And 14 years ago, I was guilty of not knowing anything. And 10 years ago, coming back to Ontario, I was guilty of not knowing anything, which we all have to learn, right? And but now it's like 14 years in, I know what it costs. You know, it was funny. I was talking to Matt with Kingsgate Construction. We're doing a house up, this really, really cool addition up in Caledon. And I said, hey, I heard you got the job. Awesome. Congrats. I haven't seen your bid. However, the client asked me the other day, how much should this cost to build? And so I told Matt, I said, I broke it down in a really quick email. I said, it's going to be X amount of dollars for the pool. It's going to be Y amount of dollars for the addition. It's going to be Z amount of dollars for the outdoor pool plus landscape plus septic. He said, holy shit, Joel. He's like, you're literally within $100,000 of my $3.2 million quote. Right. So it is like, we know what the client's expectation is.
Yeah.
And we know that we're not going to go and put vinyl floors in the house. And we know that we're not putting in a vinyl window into the home. And we know that we're not doing a shingle roof. It's going to be metal. And those things all come with a cost, you know? And whether your budget, like me when I was building, was $1 million or $3 million or $7 million, you always have a budget. There's a budget. And at some point, you're gonna get constrained on the finish. Always, always, always. It doesn't matter what project. And that's where, you know, clients always come to us and they're like, well, you know, like, I don't know if we're the right fit, you know, like, we don't know if we have the right budget. And I said, no. I said, none of my clients in 14 years have had a bottomless pit of money to spend. It is not.
Doesn't matter what
that doesn't exist.
Financial bracket you in.
Yeah, at least for me. I mean, maybe other people, other designers. They're in that caliber.
Everyone's always conscious of it.
There's always a budget, right? Yeah. Because the higher you get in the food chain, you get into 10 or 20 or $40 million. They're probably even more strict with their decisions to hit that number, right? It's like, well, that's the number you told me, so we got to hit that number.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's always a budget, right? We gotta do our job and we gotta try to hit that
everything
number.
Joel, that you said on your house. I was like checking mark exactly like the live roof, the solar panels, the radiant, like it's all, these are all smart things to do, like 100%. The basement even made a lot of sense because you know what the numbers is, what you save by not actually having a basement and not having to excavate that extra amount, right? The one thing I have a problem with, and I wish they really would change this, is that even though you got the solar panels and you're storing a lot of electricity, you can't still be off the grid. You have to still suck up on
mandated.
I hate that. Like it's like talk about a mafia.
Yeah.
Like talk about like shaking down, going to the convenience store and busting up someone going, no, you're still going to be on our system.
Yeah.
Regardless if you're bringing in so much power based on what you've invested in.
The push right now, the hydro push in this province and even in this country, it's insane. So I've been driving an electric car for 8 years.
Okay.
8 years. 2016, I bought my first Tesla Model S. And I love the concept from an eco perspective. There's a lot of people that will argue, an internal combustion engine versus a battery pack, the longevity, the issues, etc. I'm not saying it's the perfect solution, but it's the solution that I committed to 8 years ago, and that's what I drive. But, in the last 12 to 24 months, the push for electric vehicles, the push for electric heat pumps, the push to get rid of gas ranges and go electric, everything like electric boiler. You want me to put an electric boiler in my house to heat my water, to heat my floors? My bill's going to be like, I already pay in a 2,000 square foot home. I'm already paying a couple $100 a month.
They did that
for
in the
gas.
80s here in Toronto.
Yeah.
They kind of forced people to, when you were doing rental properties, they had certain rules where nowadays when you do a rental property, you can go off the same furnace to suffice both units, right? As long as you put either dampers on certain ductwork, or you put a duct system that basically smoke detector attached to your ductwork that's connected to your furnace, that if there's smoke coming in through the ductwork, it automatically shuts off the furnace, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't then at the 80s. So you were stuck with, you had to put a separate furnace for every single unit, which anybody was doing that was not going to do that because it was very, very expensive. So what would they do? They just cut all the radiant, they cut all the gas, they cut all the ductwork, and they made everything electric. Became electric baseboards everywhere.
That's what drew baseboards.
Which is just pure power sucking. And I personally owned a property in the St. Clair Dufferin area that was like that. And it was just horrific when you had a winter or January, February that was like minus 30 and you had these bills coming up. Like that was tenant responsible. $1,000 for one unit. And you're like, this is ridiculous. This is where we're headed with this whole thing. I love that you said, listen, it's all, I love that we have consumer options. You can't have consumer enforcement. That's where I don't like it. It's like you were smart to do the solar panels. I'm totally for that. That makes a lot of sense. And I know that there's opportunities to build your home to be off the grid, but the problem is that you're not allowing us to be
you're
off
not allowed
the grid.
to.
And then, like, listen, I will refuse to cook a steak on a barbecue that's driven by, electric. And then the other option is propane. But how far away are we from the government telling us we can't even have propane gas tanks, little mini tanks, or like when the convenience is you already have, you're talking to your HVAC person. They're setting up a gas manifold for you for a reason, because we know gas dryers are cheaper. We know that gas is cheaper to cook. We know gas direct to barbecue is better. We know all these things, but now you want to force all that out of the home. And new construction in BC, I think someone told me on the show, it's all gone now. You can't go with the gas lines now. Everything's all
completely banned. And I don't understand it. Like, our system can't handle it. Our system can't handle every single car being electric and every single house being electric. Like, if you go back to, I went to school in 2003, I went to college. And there was rolling blackouts in 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. And it's like, what is driving that push other than political funding, right? But it
makes it challenging for you to build when you get a certain kind of client, or you got to balance them, the builder, and then municipal zoning building rules.
And then budget again, right? And like all of it, and it's hard because you have all this information getting fed into mainstream media, and then you have clients coming in, and they're just like, electric is better, like hands down. They tell you that, and you're like, that's interesting. Like, I don't think I can agree with the statement. I'm also not coming in and saying that electric vehicles are the perfect fix and solution for everybody. We have one of each in our house, because if I want to go to Ottawa for the weekend, I don't want to stop and charge. Like it's because then you run into issues where we don't have enough chargers and it's frustrating, right? And so what happens when we make these conversions in all these homes, then the price goes up because of demand.
It will go up.
And then it comes to the fact that the system can't even handle the demand. I have a friend of mine. He is he works at the mall in Hamilton, and he works on he's in part of the mechanical team.
Okay.
Tesla is opening the biggest retail store, I'm pretty sure, if not Canada, like in the world, at the mall, at Lime Ridge. Okay. And they want to install something crazy, like 150 chargers in the back 40 of the parking lot. And he was telling me, this is a couple months ago, he's telling me where they need to draw the power from. Because he's like, it's not available. Like, it doesn't exist. He said the power exists on the other side of the highway, which is, you've got to go over the highway to a different subdivision to be able to draw power to be able to circumvent this assembly that they want to do. And so I actually don't know what the final resolution is, because they were right in the midst of problem solving. But how, if that's happening, on a large scale in one quadrant of one little city, and then you take that to the masses in every city, it doesn't work. It
won't work.
So I don't know. I don't.
Are they doing what ESA forces us to do when we do our calculations on a building structure, on the presumption of if everything was being drawn at the exact same time?
They do.
Right. So if you've got, what was it, 140
total max capacity.
Yeah. So now you got to factor in that consumption.
The total draw.
If it was total draw plus the community where it's being drawn from, every home.
Exactly.
It's not there. The calculations will not add up. There's going to be a deficit at that point. So so what's going to happen is that you're going to charge the vehicles and you're going to have brownouts for the homes. Is that what you're going to do at that point? It doesn't make any sense, right?
So we have a house. We have a house we built. They moved in mid 2022. They finished and they moved in. So 2 years ago.
How many square?
It's pretty big.
That's like, my argument. That's what, the bigger it gets, the harder it
So this house is pretty cool because they work from home. They've got a 1,000 square foot studio, 1,500 square foot garage, and they got about a 6,000 square foot house. Okay. All on one property. In the Hamilton area, they're geothermal. So they have 13 holes in the ground, full loop assembly. We have solar on the roof. We have green roof, super insulated, triple pane windows, proper facing window. So we hit the checkbox on every single step in the design process and in the construction process to get to the finish line where the client is like 90% self-sustaining themselves, right? So they still connected natural gas because the neighbor wanted to as well. So they split the cost. So it really actually wasn't a big deal. But that's their backup. So they have tie-in for natural gas. But in terms of geothermal, you're running just an electric pump to be able to circulate through the ground, to be able to heat or cool your home, to be able to heat the hot water and then have electric backup or natural gas backup. And so in that instance, when you have the property, because you need a massive property to be able to do this. I can't do it on my house, even though my lot's 75, 220. I can't do it. I don't have enough room. I don't have enough depth until I hit rock.
Yeah, I know.
And so we're doing more geothermal. Absolutely. We're probably doing a dozen houses over the next 24 months that are all going to have geothermal. But it doesn't work at every instance, right? And so in that case, I will for sure endorse going all electric. However, there's a cost, right?
That's what I was going to ask you.
If 50,000, 70,000, 90.
How much of a savings would it have been if you went traditional and not did all those things?
Yeah, that house I think was 80,000, right? So you look at they already have the gas line, they already have the hydro line. So you have to that was an absolute commitment by that client. They're very much like, we want to be off the grid as much as possible. A, we're going to spend the money to get there, and B, that's our commitment to the environment with this house.
The government should be allowing homeowners to completely get off the grid if they want to.
Yeah.
They should not still be tethered to just for the service of a meter or something like that. Yeah. It's just like all the electrical is a monopoly.
Yeah. Well, it's like credit cards, debit cards, everything being digital currency, and the elimination of cash, right? They don't like cash. We went the other day, my wife, she went to take out $5,000 American because we're going on a trip in a month, right? And we had to fill in paperwork about what you're doing with this money. It's like, I'm going to Costa Rica. Like
you should have just said Colombia. You know
yeah. Like we're going to Costa Rica. Well, I just want $5,000 because we're going to, we need to spend money on this and that and trips and like everything. And I don't want to put it on the credit card because I inevitably, for some reason, I have this amazing, miraculous route where every trip I go on, my credit card is compromised, like everywhere I go. And so it's just like, I can't be stuck in Costa Rica and not have any money, right?
No, I know.
So, and like you have to fill in the paperwork to be able to take your own money out of the bank, right? So anyways, that whole connection to, to being connected to the grid and control.
Well, that's where it is where I go back to, I think that the government should just allow homeowners I think homeowners are smarter than they think they are. And I think they're doing a lot of good homework, and they're coming to people like yourselves and they're saying these key words, geothermal. They're saying these certain key words that are really, if you've got the budget and you want to spend it, by all means do it.
Yep.
But you're still tying their hands, man. So as a government, leave us alone. Let me build my self-sufficient home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it will prove that I'm not consuming, and which means I'm not drawing and contributing to the environment harm or whatever.
What is the negative impact here?
But I mean, you can argue with the government about, you can collect all the carbon tax you want, but show me the data of how much it's reduced the carbon footprint across this country. Oh, you don't have that data. So you shouldn't be collecting this. So just piss off at that point.
Yeah.
So it's a non-starter. You're just making up crap at that point. Yeah. When you've got legitimate builders and people, designers, architects that are showing proof that if you do this, it's actually going to reduce the consumption of energy. Yeah. That's the objective here. And if we build this house a certain way, we reduce the consumption of energy.
Yeah.
But let us go and let us do that. That's where Canada could stand and be a leader at that point, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just had a call on the way over here. We did an energy evaluation on a house that we're building out in Flamborough, Carlisle area with Canadian Kennel.
Yeah,
and so we did full energy evaluation. So it was really cool actually. SOW is the consultant on it, and so what they do is they basically take the plans, they take your base platform, which I did this in BC 12 years ago, right? But they take your base platform OBC. That if we build this house, this is how the house is going to perform. Then they give you, this is what we think is the perfect solution based on financial implications and based on performance assembly of the house, because it's not going to be perfect. Okay. And so this is your happy medium. So our anticipated cost impact on material only, not including labor. So probably, take it times 2 is $27,000 for these improvements. So take it times 2, $54,000, $60,000, let's say, to go from base building code to our proposal of additional energy efficiency when it comes to window performance, wall assembly, roof assembly, what kind of electric or gas assembly you're doing, right? And then the cooler thing was then they said, hey, if you designed a passive house standard, right? The Canadian Green Building Council, the passive house standard, this is the jump. So the financial jump from $26,000 in material was actually to go to passive was $100,000 just material, right? So you're going from $50,000 with labor to $200,000 with labor, let's say, to get to passive house. And the consultant said, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. It's an 80-year payback. He said, this is a 20-year payback. You can absorb that. 80 years is a total waste. So now we're at a point where the clients are going to be comfortable in the home long-term. They're going to be saving money in the home long-term. They're going to be proud about a product that they're putting up. The builder is going to be proud about the product they're putting up. The designer's proud about the product. The consultant's proud. And we didn't have to go to the nth degree. Yeah. We didn't need to spend that $200,000, right? We didn't have to.
And you're still contributing to save the environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's just about energy consumption at that point.
It's like everything counts, right? Yeah. So I get really frustrated when I have a conversation, with, well, like what good is it that I don't have these 6 water bottles this week? It's like, well, it's the little bits that count, right? So it's if you do that and your partner does that and your family's doing that and the team is doing that, and that is how we get better, right? That's improvement. And so not every client can afford to do that exercise and to commit to those efficiencies, but even just putting in a better window that's not going to be garbage in 9 years. You know how many houses I've seen that are 10 years old that clients want to completely gut and reno? 10 years old.
For what reason? What's sparking it?
Because they're garbage.
They just weren't built.
Subdivision. right?
Yeah.
So like the floors are popping up, the kitchens are deteriorating.
I've always
there was
wanted
never
to,
backsplash.
I always wanted to build an as per OBC house right next to the exact same drawing layout as it should be built house.
And then come back in 10 years.
And then show the numbers every year, show the consumption, show everything.
And then you're like, okay, now I'm taking all of this product out of this house. I'm throwing it in a landfill because nothing's recyclable.
Nothing.
And I'm doing it all over again. It's so frustrating.
Such a waste.
And it's just it's the greed factor, unfortunately, right? And it's that copy paste mentality. And listen, I understand, you know, even our house for $1 million, like not everybody can afford to build a house and spend $1 million. You know, we've worked our asses off flipping houses and building homes and moving every 3 years and building a business to be able to do that. So I feel very privileged to be able to do that. And I realize that not everybody has the same budget.
Yep.
But my approach is like, well, can we not do what, you know, is more Asian influenced, where we actually just build smaller, or we build multi-generational, because we don't need a big space.
Nope.
Like, so
that's a North American mentality though.
Huge. It is, for sure. And like, so it's my wife and myself. We have 2 kids. We have a Great Dane. We have a cat. We have family over all the time. We have friends over.
Name?
Luther.
Is he big?
He's massive.
He's massive. How are we talking? 200 pounds?
He's 128, I think, right now.
They're absolutely adorable. They're adorable.
They're awesome. He has got quite the personality. Like unbelievable. But yeah, it is. It's gonna take this massive shift. I just started reading this book. I went to the bookstore on Sunday with my daughter, and she like picked it out. I was looking for a documentary, and she picked it out. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna read it. And it's co-written by Heather Reisman from Indigo. So she's the CEO of Indigo. So it's co-written by this other gal. I forget what her role is in society. So forget, you know, but I started reading the first chapter and rolling into the second chapter. And it was really cool to just get a brief introduction on what Heather's doing from a high level corporation standpoint with Indigo and their goals with being net zero from a company performance perspective. But then it starts getting into like, it is all these little things that we do as, you know, in society to get to the finish line. And with that, it's like, can't we just build smaller? You know, is kind of my reaction within that is like, we don't need a 3,000 square foot house or 4,000 square foot house. And unfortunately I realize, you know, a lot of our clients, that's what we build. That's our bread and butter. And, you know, so it's a hard pill to swallow when, you know, that's what pays the bills and that's what keeps the lights on, right? It's like you kind of have this.
It's a balancing. It
is a balance, right? And the balance is when we get these clients where we have these conversations. And so ever since I put my green roof on my house, I can tell you that probably every single drawing set that's left our office has a green roof on it. And we've probably installed 25 on our houses. And so that, even just that little bit on those 25 houses, you know, if we can just kind of keep copying and pasting those methodologies in the industry.
Why isn't the government talking green roofs?
Yeah. It's the single best investment we made in our house. Like solar, it's like, it is what it is. The payback is not 11 years. It's 22 is what I've calculated, you know, but it is what it is. Like we committed, I'm happy with it.
But are you mechanically doing anything for cooling?
Nothing? We have a heat pump for cooling.
Okay. So just for the extreme hot days, right?
Yeah. Like it's maybe on, I don't know, last summer it was crazy. It was maybe on like 13 days in the summer. Like you can, it really does stay quite comfortable. And then we'll maybe keep the windows open and then just crank it on when we're going to bed, you know, and get it down a few degrees. But I mean, it is like that green roof is
more than comfortable. It's more than, and it's that I would love to hear. See, here's the problem with the government is that why aren't they not speaking to more people like yourselves, the boots on the ground, the tradespeople, the ones that are building, installing these products, like structures.
Yeah.
I don't care about data that's coming from focus groups or something like that. I don't understand that because that doesn't make any sense to me. Like if you really want to know what's going on, then get to the job sites and get to the drawings beforehand. We know green roofs scientifically have proven that they cool down homes. That's a fact, but nobody talks about it. On a government level, nobody talks about it.
Yeah. And it's a cool detail, right? It's a cool detail that, you know, because with modern homes that have a flat roof, inevitably when you get up to that second story and you got a big bedroom window, you're looking out at a black hole, right? Or a white hole if it's TPO membrane.
A hot hole in the summertime.
Yeah,
sometimes.
like insanely hot. And then you want to open that window to get fresh air.
You're just
and it's 117 degrees.
Wow. Like during construction, and all of a sudden you got a flat partition started and you've got that summer and you're like going, like you could literally cook on this.
Oh, big time. Yeah. Big time. Yeah. And so the green roof gets rid of all of that. So yeah, there's so many benefits. Yeah. Yeah.
I had a bunch of questions for you, but I was like completely ignoring it and just talking about it. But no, this has been great. But we're getting close to wrapping it up. But I'd love to, I mean, where do you get your inspiration from? Because you're coming up with ideas and certain details. Like I'm impressed with like the basketball court sunken in there. There's that one project I think you did in Burlington where it was like the two archways, stone brick archways, which was so refreshing to see. And I was like going, why not? Like that actually makes sense. So like you're blocking some of the glass area of that one large window, but it made so much sense, right? So you start seeing that, and then also the halo cutout for the tree. And I'm like going, these are amazing details. Like these are ideas that I want to see more and more of in Canadian homes, and we should be seeing more of them. But I'm sure that you travel quite a bit and you've seen other people in other countries that the way they've built certain things. But are you getting your inspiration not just from structures, but also from other avenues, like whether it be music or books or what have you, like even films or TV shows, like certain details, certain ideas? Is that where it's coming from?
So that's like as the creative director, it's the hardest job that I have, but it's the most enjoyable part of my job. And so, it's literally 1% of my job is that creative energy that goes into these projects to launch them with our team. And it's fun. Like it's a lot of fun to push the limits. Unfortunately for the design team, like it's never good enough. So like,
you want more?
Yeah. Well, no, I like my attitude is it's never good enough.
Okay.
It's right. I want it better. It has to be better. How do we make it better? And so, like Hayden's been at our office. He's been a designer for 5 years, and every job we work on, it's like, it's never good enough. Like, how do we make this better? Right. Because like, if we're about to send this out into the world, we're going to send it to the client. We're going to send it to the builder. We're going to put it on Instagram. We're going to put it on our website. We have to be proud of it.
Yeah.
Right. You got to push the limits. You got to, and competition, like there's competition out there. How do we one up the competition? Right. Like it's constant pressure. I'm very heavily influenced by books. I don't stop buying books. I buy any book that I can get my hands on. I love taking inspiration from all parts of the world. Because what we talked about earlier is that, North America from an architectural inspiration perspective, I mean, I go back to, I have a 3-volume set of mid-century modern architecture books. Mm-hmm. It's these massive book volumes. It's actually the photographer that photographed all these houses through the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. But books is huge. And so, but in order to get inspired by architecture in North America, I go back to the 50s, I go back to the 60s, right? Because that's when we were really pushing the limits, and we had this infusion of Asian architecture and this infusion of European architecture and new settlers into, and so I go back to old school, whether it be, Asian influenced or Australia, New Zealand, like they are pushing the boundaries on architecture. I started buying the local project. It's a book. I guess they launched maybe just before COVID, like 2019. So I have all their volumes. And this one architect down there, Sean Lockyer, we message every now and again. And that guy is like, his team is unbelievable. And so it never stops. We went on a trip to Portugal last summer. That was wicked. It was cool to see a new part of the world live. And so we hung out in Lisbon, we hung out in the Algarves, and, Lisbon's one of the oldest cities in Europe. Yeah. And the inspiration that comes out of old world architecture is pretty intense. And that's what actually drove one of our most recent posts on Instagram was the client wanted a little bit more of a traditional home, but they came to a modern design outfit. And Matt knew we were the right designer for the job, and we blew the client's socks off on Tuesday in our presentation. And it was infusing kind of old school traditional architecture with new world approach to windows, doors, detailing, profiles, thicknesses. So again, going back to the hats, I don't want to build a 2-story box with a hat on it. You get this super heavy ACM. I'm so sick and tired of ACM and the banding. And so as much as possible, we kind of try to stray away from that and introduce new profile, like roofline profiles and detail. It is about those details that elevate the project.
Yeah.
And the mentality of it's just never good enough. It's got to be, how do we make it better?
I know you got a project on there. I don't know if it's a mock-up or if it's been built yet, or if you guys have gone a lot of vertical siding, wood siding.
We've got a few of them in design and under construction right now that are very, very heavy wood. So we're doing one with Hummingbird right now up in Flamborough.
Yeah, okay.
Really cool Scandinavian influence. That one's a really fun project.
Large
it's
peaks
underway.
And
Yeah.
But the amount of wood, I like when you first glance at it, it doesn't feel heavy with the amount of wood.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
feel
that's a fun project.
Yeah.
That's a really cool one. And so it's introducing even like old school products in a new school format, right? Because you don't need to reinvent the wheel with a product every single time. It's like, how do you finesse those little details to elevate it? Constant pressure.
But you guys are coming up with ideas, and obviously you want builders and trades to come at you to solve or collaborate with those ideas, right?
Yeah.
Because they're so used to the standard way of building things,
Yeah.
whether it's going to be brick or if it's going to be siding.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's horizontal, or it's going to be like that ACM bandy that you said. Yeah, I get it. But I always tell the builders and the trades, remember those early days of construction when you got in and where you were scratching your head trying to figure out things?
Yeah.
That's what we want to do on a daily basis, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
We totally want to do that.
We do. Yeah, otherwise we're just bored.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We totally want to do that. Joel, this has been a pleasure, man. Absolute pleasure having you on the show. Come back anytime, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for conversation.
having me.
No, and it's funny that I like that there's a whole, a bunch of people that have been on the show already and just a whole connectivity, right?
Yeah.
IG, SMPL Design Studio and www.smpldesignstudio.com. Contact at SMPL designstudio.com and 905-529-7675. You ready for the 12 questions?
Absolutely.
What is your favorite construction word?
So gnarly. It's not really a construction word, but it's our term within the industry of what our product is.
Nice. Least favorite tool?
Angle grinder scares the shit out of me.
A nice 7-inch one with no guard on it?
Well, yeah, can't do it.
What construction sound do you love?
Nail gun.
Pneumatic?
Sound of progress.
Pneumatic, though.
Yeah.
Get rid of these battery guys. You need a pneumatic. Favorite beverage?
Coffee, always.
What turns you on and off in construction?
Always. So turning on, seeing the vision come to life, and then turning off, I wrote, lack a team approach. So we want to see that collaboration within our team, but also within our members, like the client, the builder, the subs. We want that collaboration. So when there's that lack, I don't enjoy the process.
What's that one design idea that you've come up with, but it's still on the shelf? You haven't found the right client for. What's that one detail?
The corkscrew roof. We designed this house a few years ago, and the client didn't bite, so we still have it on the shelf. And the green roof, the lawn turns into a roof that kind of like corkscrews.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's still on the shelf.
I love that.
Oh yeah, it's wild.
It becomes a wall and a floor.
Yeah,
at the same time.
Yeah, and then you can walk up on there. Yeah, green roof structure.
They just didn't bite.
It was just too far out of comfort zone, which is okay.
It's a good one. That's a good one though. Favorite curse word?
Fuck.
Favorite vehicle? Any mode of transportation?
Favorite mode of transportation is a Porsche.
A Porsche?
Yeah.
Taycan?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you miss from your childhood?
The freedom and like that lack of responsibility and just like wanting just do whatever you want to do.
You're supposed to get into trouble.
Yes.
And then worry the whole time about
getting
how bad is the trouble going to be, right? Yeah, I know. I remember those days. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt one day?
Car sales.
Car sales?
Yeah, I love cars.
Car sales? I had a couple of friends that did that way back when, but car sales, that's a challenging career.
Yeah. One of my clients is he's got a car dealership in town, and we've done a bunch of houses with him. And he it's just, yeah, he's a great guy. And I'm like, fuck, I love your job. I love your job some days.
I guess you got to read people really well, right? Like you got to figure out what they're really looking for, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
What profession would you not like to do?
Roofer. Never, like, couldn't do it. It's
hard.
I've done it with my dad and my brother before. It's hard. Like, never again.
It's hard, man. And the last question, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at those pearly gates?
Nice work.
Joel, man, thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Making the time and coming here and talking a little bit of shop. And,
yeah, most certainly.
And that's it. We're done, man.
Awesome.
Love to come by one of your projects if I can.
Anytime.
Just take a look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, anytime.
They look great as images, so I can only imagine what they feel like when I see them in person, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thanks so much, man.
Awesome.
We're out of here, Angelina.